Good day, everyone. I am Shaira G. Pabro, one of your discussants from Group B, in which we will discuss the school head in school-based management and also the conditions for the success of school-based management and functions of school head. We will going to elaborate these topics. First one is how school works makes school-based management workers, to be discussed by Ms. Cristel Arevalo. Second one is the school-based management in the Philippine schools, to be discussed by Ms. Shara Joy Galang. And the third one is the school-based management grant, to be discussed by Ms. Rancel Kibite. Fourth one is the conditions of the success of school-based management, to be discussed by Ms. Aryan Equipaje. And the fifth one, the strategies for improving the effectiveness of school-based management, to be discussed by Mr. George Canha. And the last topic that I will discuss is the roles and functions of a school head.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Crystal Joy B. Arevalo, and I will discuss how schools make school-based management work. You can see the meaning of school-based management on your screen. I will no longer explain it further because it was already discussed by the first group. School-based management decentralizes control from the central district offices to individual schools as a way to keep school constituents. So here it said that it was decentralized. When we say decentralized, it is controlled, is handled not just by one person, but many local offices or authorities. I will no longer explain the SBM further because it was already discussed by the first group. So now let us move on to the another topic. Strategy number 1, disperse power throughout the school organization so that many stakeholders participate in decision making. One of the imperative strategies is to collaborate and discuss with other school organizations what needs to be discussed because they are also part of the institution. What distinguished the schools where SPM worked from the struggling schools was the extent to which power was dispersed throughout the school beyond the principal and council to subcommittees and other decision-making groups, like for example, the teaching teams and ad hoc interview committees. Strategy number 2, make professional development an ongoing school-wide activity. Professional development in schools where SBM worked was a very high priority. Activities were oriented toward building a school-wide capacity for change, creating a professional community, and developing a shared knowledge base. In some successful SBM, teachers with release time were responsible for soliciting input from other teachers and either arranging for the training or actually delivering it themselves. Schools where SBM worked were also more likely to have multi-year commitments to professional development, which included all teachers. These schools often offered follow-up sessions. Several of them had subject matter consultants who visited and carried out demonstration lessons, observations, and worked with teachers on individual and group problem solving. Strategy number 3, disseminate information broadly so that SBM participants can make informed decisions about the school organization and all stakeholders are kept informed about school performance. The traditional flow of information in schools is from the central office to the school site. What distinguished the schools where SBM worked were the additional channels used to disseminate information. In these schools, information not only flowed to the school from the central office but also within the school, out to the community, and back up to the district office. Particularly noteworthy, the multiple vertical and horizontal teacher work teams used to collect and dispense information within the school and the constant efforts to inform parents and community outside the school. Strategy number 4, frequently reward individual and group performance on progress toward school goals. It is very important to recognize and appreciate the hard work and the efforts of our teachers so that they have the motivation, the urge to continue on what they are doing. So rewarding teachers for the additional effort and new roles that SBM requires and rewarding groups or schools for improvement was not frequently done. Although schools where SBM worked use this approach slightly more than the struggling schools. It has been argued that intrinsic rewards are sufficient to motivate and reinforce teachers. They found out that in actively reconstructing schools, many teachers were excited and motivated by the climate of professional collaboration and learning in their schools. Strategy number 5, select principals who can lead and delegate. All schools where SBM worked had principals who played a key role in dispersing power, in promoting a school-wide commitment to learning and growth in skills and knowledge, in expecting all teachers to participate in the work of the school, in collecting information about student learning, and in distributing rewards. The principals were often described as facilitators and leaders, as strong supporters of their staffs, and as the people who brought innovation to the school and who moved reform agendas forward. And last, strategy number 6, adopt a well-defined vision for curriculum and instruction to direct reform efforts. Most of the schools where SBM worked operated according to a set of curricular guidelines developed at the district, state, or national. For example, National Council of Teachers of Filipino level, National Council of Teachers of Mathematics level. Yet teachers perceive themselves as having considerable leeway regarding the specifics of the curriculum they provided to their students, as well as the instructional approaches and materials they used. However, some schools had separate curriculum framework for each content area that teachers had written themselves. Some schools used sections from existing frameworks to come up with their own approach. That's all. Thank you for listening. Have a nice day, everyone, and God bless you all.
Good day, everyone. My name is Shara Joy Galang, the next reporter. So, since our topic is all about SBM or school-based management, let me discuss first about the legal basis of school-based management or the Republic Act 9155. Republic Act 9155, an act instituting a framework of governance for basic education, establishing authority and accountability, renaming the Department of Education, Culture, Sports as the Department of Education and for other purposes. Every education institution in the world has its own share of problem that needs to be addressed. Some issues besetting the school system, especially the public school, include high dropout rates, quality educational service, high repetition rate, and limited holding capacity of the schools. Over the past decades, many initiatives and reform efforts have been implemented to address these problems. One key response of the national government is the adaptation and implementation of SBM or the school-based management anchors on decentralization trends of 70s. SBM, a framework of governance, transfer the power and authority as well as resources to the school level on the assumption that the school head, including teachers, key leaders in the community, parents, know the root and solution to the problem. In the Philippines, SBM was officially implemented as a governance framework of DepEd with the passage of Republic Act 9155 in 2001 as legal cover. So what is the purpose of Republic Act 9155? Governance in basic education. Republic Act 9155, also known as the Governance of Basic Education Act of 2001, provides the overall framework for principal empowerment by strengthening principals and leadership goals and local school-based management within the context of transparency and local accountability. And what are the roles, responsibilities, and accountabilities of school head as enumerated in Republic Act 9155? The school head has an authority, accountability, and responsibility to lead the national education's policies, plans, and standards. Since the principal leads the school, he is empowered and has an authority to make decisions that would result in the achievement of instructional goals. Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, next, the school-based management in Philippine school. Schools are given more power to direct their affairs with the learning and development of learners as ultimate goals. So, good education is not only about the physical inputs such as classroom, teachers, and and textbooks, but also about the incentives that lead to better instruction and learning. Uh, Education systems are extremely demanding of the managerial, technical, and financial capacities of governments, and thus service education is too complex to be efficiently produced and distributed in centralized fashion. The government adapt this innovation to decentralize the authority to the school level. Responsibility and the decision makings over school operation is transferred to principal, teachers, parents, sometimes student, and other school community members. The school level actors, however, have to conform to or operate within a set of centrally determined policies. So, in general, SMB or school-based management program transfer authority over one or more of the following activities: budget allocation, hiring and firing of teachers and other school staff, curriculum development, textbook and other educational material procurement, setting the school calendar to better meet the specific need of the local community, and monitoring and evaluating of teacher performance and student learning outcomes. SMB also includes school development plans, school grants, and sometimes from information assimilation of education results, otherwise known as report cards.
First, let us define what is School-Based Management Grant. SBM grant is a funding facility extended to public elementary and secondary schools by the Department of Education to help accelerate improvements in learning outcomes that will redound to achievement of EFA and MDG targets by 2015. It is a support mechanism that aims to improve the following. First is learner participation, school attendance, completion rates, student learning outcomes. So what can the school-based management grant can be used for? The SBM grant shall be used to support activities that will lead towards the formulation of a 3-year school improvement plan that has been agreed upon among school authorities, the community, and the DepEd Division Office, and implement the approved SIP translated into annual implementation plan. All regions and divisions are covered by the grant. However, prioritization of divisions is based on a set of criteria bearing consideration for achieving greater results for universal access and quality education. To qualify for the SBM grant, the school formulated SIP must demonstrate the principles of effective school-based management as espoused by the SBM framework and standards. These guidelines shall provide the rules for availment, release, utilization, and liquidation of SBM grant and shall form part of the program implementation plan of the National Program Support for Basic and Support to Philippine Education Reforms projects. To become eligible, school must fulfill two main criteria. First is school enrollment. This is issued as an indicator of school size. The school must have an enrollment of 300 or less as found on Enhanced Basic Education Information System. Next, income class municipality. The school must come from a third, fourth, fifth, or sixth income class municipality. This is based on the National Statistical Coordination Board or NSCB. A school that has not yet liquidated 100% of its previous SBM grants is disqualified from receiving the school-based management grant. However, in these cases, the division shall provide the school a grace period of not more than 5 calendar days after the issuance of this policy to accomplish the liquidation. But this criteria may change for the next batch of school-based management grant recipients. In addition, activities done by schools for disaster response, recovery, and rehabilitation are also considered eligible activities for the school-based management grant. These may include the following. First is minor repairs of damaged school property, establishment of temporary learning spaces, clean-up, improvised teaching tools and materials, psychosocial support, rebuilding of school and student records, and lastly, child mapping.
Good day again, and let us now tackle about the conditions for the success of SBM. The first one is the dispersed power. SBM would be successful if the power has been parted to. One factor that distinguished successful schools from struggling schools was the extent to which power was dispersed beyond the principal and council to subcommittees and other decision-making groups, such as teaching teams and interview committees. With the wide dispersal of power, nearly all faculty members at the successful schools took part. Second is the stress professional development. A second strategy used by successful SBM schools is to establish a professional development as an ongoing school-wide activity. Successful schools oriented activities toward building a school-wide capacity for change, creating a professional community, and developing a shared knowledge base in struggling schools. Professional development tended to have an individual rather than a school-wide focus. The third one is disseminate information. Third, thriving SBM schools disseminate information broadly so that participants can make informed decisions about the school organization, and so that all stakeholders are informed that school performance, such as in work groups. Teachers serve on grade level teams and subject area teams. In meetings, several schools scheduled brief grade level or department meetings immediately after faculty meetings so they could obtain feedback quickly. In outreach, most of the successful SBM schools were systematic. And in feedback, schools where SBM work collected many kinds of data on school performance and they tried to act on the information. The fourth one is the select the right principal. Select the right principal. Principals were often described as facilitators, right, and leaders. So, a strong, we must, they must select the right principal, like strong supporters of their staffs. The fifth one is have a vision. To be successful, to the successful schools with SBM, it benefited from a shared understanding and widespread commitment to the instruction and curriculum approaches that had been adopted. And the sixth, the last, reward accomplishment. Schools that are succeeding with SBM frequently reward individuals and groups on progress they make toward school goals. And those are the conditions, the 6 conditions for the success of SBM.
Hello everyone, my name is George Arcanha and I'm going to discuss all about the strategies in improving the effectiveness of SBM. There are four strategies that needed to improve the effectiveness of SBM. First one is the power. Power is to make decisions that influence organizational practices, policies, and directions. It is said that to be an effective principal, they must be work to diffuse power throughout the organization or the school organization to solidify and increase commitment to the reform. It is also said that schools had the vertical and horizontal work groups that involved nearly all teachers in the school and oftentimes community members and parents. Work groups were created by principals or the council and tended to be structured formally with an assigned members and regular meeting times. Sometimes the group had binding authority, and other times their power were to advise the principal or the school site council. The second one is the knowledge. Knowledge that enables employees to understand and contribute to organizational performance, including technical knowledge to do the job or provide the service, inter, interpersonal skills, and managerial knowledge and expertise. Principals in actively restructuring SBM schools promoted school-wide staff development to improve the capacity of the whole school. Because the school could not afford to train all the staff, then a small group were trained with this expectation that the teachers would share their knowledge and skills with the variety, which is more whole faculty. Effective principals also encourage on-site continuous staff development and not the one-shot or the go-and-get fragmented in nature. Under SPM, there are three kinds of knowledge and skills that are important and effective. Principal paid attention to all. First is if the stock stakeholders rather are to be able to contribute knowledgeably to decisions about school improvements, then they need training to expand their knowledge about the structural and pragmatic changes of schools, including the current knowledge about teaching, learning, and curriculum. Secondly, people at the school site need teamwork skills for the participating in work groups and training in group decision making and how to reach consensus. And if the people other than the principal are running meetings, then leadership training is needed school-wide so that people have the skills to run meetings effectively. And finally, the third one, the teachers and community representatives are expected to assist in developing a budget or a budget or hiring staff that they need organizational knowledge, which includes budgeting and personal skills. Third one was the information. Information is all about the performance of the organization, including revenues, expenditures, unit performance, and strategic information on the broader policy and economic environment. It is said that principals to be an effective principals should disseminate the information about the school as activities and student performance through newsletters to the whole school community. And some principals included local businesses on their mailings list, and principals also routinely distributed student test scores to staff so they could be used to plan curriculum and instructional improvements. Many principals provided comparison with other schools in the district with similar student population. And lastly, the reward. Rewards that are based on the performance of the organization and contributions of individuals. And it is more focused on the staff members that more responsibility and spend more time managing the school under SEM. The effective principals rewarded people for their efforts. Rewards included reduced course loads for writing, and funding to attend professional development activities, principals frequently wrote thank you notes and publicly recognized staff at faculty meetings. Some some principals also rewarded the whole school community rather than individuals, believing such an approach that avoided the concept between the um, winners and losers, contributed to a sense of community. And another reward for the school was achieved through the visibility in the community. Effective principals initiated school recognition by taking a more active role in local public relations activities and making teachers more visible in the community. And oftentimes, the school were rewarded by in-kind donations and financial contributions. So, my topic is all about the strategies that needed by the school head or the principal to improve the effectiveness of SPM. So, they needed the following. First is the power, second is knowledge, third is information, and lastly the rewards. So that is the end of my discussion, and thank you for listening.
So now let us proceed to the school head and school-based management. So the effective school head or principals in the active restructuring school-based management we studied were spending considerable amounts of time helping to empower, train, inform, and reward their staff. As a consequence, we began to see evidence of emerging roles and functions for principals. So here are those roles and functions of the principals. First one is to be the designer or champion of involvement structures. This is where principals help to develop decision-making teams that involve various stakeholders to provide them with opportunities for conversations around school-specific issues. So, the principals invested the teams with real authority by carving out discrete areas of jurisdiction. Second one is to become the motivator or coach to create a supportive environment where principals work to communicate trust, encourage risk-taking, communicate information, and facilitate participation in school-based management. This is where principal support is a must. He or she is the one who must lead students and other school faculties into a positive outcomes. And the third one is to become the facilitator or manager of change. Principals encourage staff development as an ongoing school-wide activity. This is where principals provide tangible resources such as money, equipment, and materials, and intangible resources like time and opportunities to staff to assist in the school improvement process. And the fourth one is to become a visionary principal, advocate, and a planner, in which he or she lead in setting the vision, mission, and goals of the school. So the knowledge, skills, attitudes required here is change and future orientation. And the fifth role is to become the builder of networks and support system. So the principal organize or expand school, community, and local governments, networks, and groups. Other than that, is for them to lead in developing the school improvement plan with the participation of the staff and the community, and also to maintain the school management information system, in which it requires skills in negotiation and conflict resolution, participatory planning, and administrative management. The next one is to become the curriculum developer, in which the principal create a physical and psychological climate conducive to teaching and learning. Aside from that, is for them to localize and implement a school curriculum, encourage development and use of innovative instructional methods focused on improving learning outcomes, in which it requires skills in designing the curriculum to address both national goals, local needs, and aspirations, as well as the development of collective accountability for school and student performance. And next is to become the fiscal resources manager, administrator and manage all personnel, physical and fiscal resources of the school, in which it requires a skill in fund management. Other than that, it also encourage and accept donations, gifts, and grants for educational purposes and report all such donations to the appropriate offices. That requires attitude of serving as model for transparency and accountability, especially in financial management. Last one is to become liaison to the outside world, where principals brought into the school new ideas and research for thinking about teaching and learning. This is where principals solicited donations of funds and materials and encouraged grant writing among staff to boost school resources. Principals also run interference for teachers by filtering out unnecessary distractions, which freed up teachers to focus on teaching and learning. So those roles and functions of principals in school-based management will need to balance a variety of roles. The principal role is evolving from direct instructional leadership to a broader role of orchestrating decision making, often through teams of teachers and interacting with a wider range of individuals, including community members and other stakeholders. And that would be the end of our discussion. And if you still have questions regarding our topics, you may visit these references. That would be all. Again, we are the Group B. Thank you.